Have you ever stopped to think about what it would be like to live without watches? No schedules marking appointments, no deadlines to meet, no feeling of running out of time? Does it seem like a liberating dream or true chaos? Time has always been an obsession of humanity. From the earliest days, we tried to measure it, control it, and even challenge it. But why? Why are we so obsessed with dividing our lives into seconds, minutes, and hours? Now look around you. Your entire day revolves around the clock, the alarm clock that got you out of bed, the work schedule, the time it takes to prepare your coffee. Everything follows a rhythm imposed by an invention that shaped not only our routine, but society itself. But what if I told you that it wasn't always like this? For thousands of years, our ancestors didn't have a wristwatch or an app that told them when it was time to wake up. They followed the sunrise and sunset. They were guided by the cycles of nature, until at some point we decided that wasn't enough. We needed to measure time, master its mysteries, and above all, organize it to meet our needs. This is how the first watches appeared. But they were nothing like what we know today. Today, we are going to travel back in time to understand how this invention revolutionized human life. Who created the first watch? How did we go from simple shadows on the ground to super-accurate digital devices? And most importantly, do we control time, or does it control us? And this is just the first part of this odyssey. Throughout this series, we will chart how past inventions shaped the world as we know it. If you want to discover more about the technologies that have transformed our daily lives, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. This way, you don't miss the next episodes and take part in this journey through time, understanding how each discovery impacted our lives. So, ready to uncover the history of watches and the human obsession with time? Let's get started. But before we understand how the clock became essential in our routine, we need to go back in time, long before the technology existed. How did early humans deal with time? Without smartphones, without alarm clocks, without calendars, what guided their lives were the cycles of nature. Sunrise and sunset were the only references. Time was measured by shadows, by the seasons, by the position of the moon in the sky. But this rudimentary way of telling time was not accurate enough for a growing society. And that was when the first attempts to capture time emerged. The Egyptians created the sundial, a milestone in the history of time measurement. A rod stuck in the ground projected a shadow that moved throughout the day, indicating different periods. But there was a problem. It didn't work at night or on cloudy days. Then other civilizations developed alternatives, such as the hourglass and the clepsydra, the first water clocks. They measured time with greater precision, allowing meetings, prayers, and even trials to be timed. But still, these methods had flaws. The world needed something more reliable, something that didn't depend on weather or sunlight. It was only in the Middle Ages that a real leap forward took place. The invention of the first mechanical watches, installed in churches and cathedrals. These huge machines were used to mark prayer times and guide the rhythm of life in society. For the first time, time was standardized, influencing routines, habits, and even commerce. Without this invention, our modern organization would be impossible. And speaking of revolutions, there's something you can do now so you don't miss the next episodes. Leave a like. This helps the channel to continue bringing these fascinating stories. As time was standardized by the great cathedrals, society began to become more disciplined. But there was a problem. These giant clocks were fixed on towers, far from people's direct access. To tell the time, you had to listen to the ringing of the bells or look up, which wasn't always practical. It was then that the first portable mechanical watches appeared, allowing time to be taken anywhere. Small but still imprecise, they began to appear in the 16th century, especially among the nobility and influential merchants. Having a pocket watch was not just a matter of practicality, but also a status symbol. Whoever controlled time controlled life itself. But these watches were still large and fragile, carried on chains or stored in vests. It was only in the 19th century that a major breakthrough occurred, the transition to the wristwatch. At first, he was not taken seriously. The idea of attaching a watch to the arm seemed unnecessary, as pocket watches already fulfilled their role. However, during wars, the military needed a more efficient way to measure time without interrupting its actions on the battlefield. The wristwatch became indispensable for coordinating attacks and strategies, and that's when its popularity exploded. After World War I, he left the battlefields and conquered the world. Now, anyone could tell the time on their own body without relying on bells or towers. It was a complete change in the way people interacted with time, making it more personal, more precise, and more integrated into their routine. This revolution not only transformed habits, but paved the way for something even more impressive, the search for maximum precision in time control. With the wristwatch dominating the world, the next big revolution was not long in coming. For centuries, clocks relied on complex gear and spring mechanisms, but in the 20th century, a new technology changed everything: the quartz watch. Unlike mechanical models, which required manual winding and could still undergo variations, quartz brought a level of precision never before seen. Using electrical impulses regulated by a quartz crystal vibrating at a high frequency, these watches ensured that time was counted with a minimum margin of error. They were cheaper, more accessible, and extremely reliable, making them a global phenomenon. Now, anyone could have an accurate watch on their wrist, and big brands soon realized the potential of this new market. But the evolution did not stop there. If before clocks were tools for measuring time, at the end of the 20th century, they began to transform into multifunctional devices. The first big leap was the arrival of digital watches, which eliminated pointers and gears, replacing everything with electronic screens and exact numbers. They promised to make it easier to read the time and soon became a rage, especially among young people and athletes. But the real revolution was yet to come. With the advancement of technology, watches gained new functions, connecting to radios, sensors, and even computers. This is how, in the 21st century, the smartwatches, a perfect fusion between time, innovation, and connectivity. More than simply keeping time, they started to monitor our health, control notifications, measure steps, and even allow payments. The watch, which was once just a precision instrument, has become a status symbol and advanced technology, transforming the way we interact with time and the world around us. And if you think this was the last revolution, wait until you find out what comes next. Comment here. Do you still use traditional watches, or have you joined the digital era? The clock gave us control over time, but does this control really exist? Today we live surrounded by it. The alarm clock that wakes us from sleep, the meeting time that we can't miss, the countdown to an approaching deadline. The clock, which was once just a tool to organize the day, now seems to dictate our lives. We look at it all the time, racing against the clock, trying to fit everything into a tight schedule. But has this made us more productive or simply more anxious? If before time was something fluid, marked only by the sun and stars, today it is fractionated, timed and optimized to the extreme. What started as an invention to make life easier now traps us in an inescapable routine. We are always late for something, always trying to gain time, as if it were possible to accumulate it in an invisible safe. And the most curious thing is that the more tools we create to manage time, the less time we seem to have left. But if the clock gave us the illusion of control over the time, another invention forever changed the way we record our ideas, thoughts, and even our own history. Before screens, before keyboards, before even books, there was something much simpler but equally revolutionary: the paper and writing. How do we begin to turn words into symbols? How has the need to record information shaped entire civilizations? In the next episode, we'll travel even deeper into humanity's timeline to find out how it all began. If you've made it this far, it's because you really enjoy delving into the history of inventions that shaped the world. So thank you for being on this journey with me. See you in the next chapter of this series that is already appearing for you.